You're listening to Cash and Sass. I'm Lisa Marie, your go-to gal for all things money. As the Sassy Wealth Queen and the brains behind the Sassy Wealth Coach, I'm here to take you on a thrilling ride from the financial chaos to sassy and sexy money. Hey, my sassy friend. Welcome back to Cash and Sass podcast. And today I have my friend and another financial money coach in the realm who, by the way, I have to say, we had a coffee chat the other day and I was so excited. She got as excited about multiple savings accounts as I do. And I didn't think that was possible, but we were like ranking right up there with all the excitement over it. So I am super, super stoked to have her on my podcast today. So without further ado, let me introduce Kimberly Graham. She's a dynamic speaker and educator, wife and mom. Kim shares her wealth building strategies with audiences worldwide. Her engaging talks are a blend of real world experiences, that was a tongue twister, practical insights, humor, and actionable steps that resonate with anyone looking to take control of their financial destiny. And one of the things that I, absolutely love is the fact that you and your husband work together as a financial coaching team, working with couples on communicating about, my favorite topic in the whole wide world, money, right? And it's such a taboo subject. So tell me what got you into that? What are something from your money journey mistakes that you might have happened that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me and for opening this space. I love open conversations around money because let me just say there's so many people who love to, we talked about this at our coffee chat. There's so many people that love to talk about, these are the things that you should do with money. And this is what money could do for you. And okay, we know that. But nobody wants to talk about the journey of getting there. Like, it sucks sometimes. And it's important for us to share those stories about how, we're excited we're on this side, but it took a lot of work to get here. And there are moments, even now, where money sucks. And it's important for us to not make it such a taboo subject, but also talk about how much we love working with our money and how much money can be a joy and it can be a bridge to the things that we desire for our life and our family. So to answer your question, my husband and I had $76,000 of student loan debt that was not mine. Okay. I always make sure like we're making that more known now. I mean, I told people before, but I was like, I don't want him to feel, whatever. He does not care. He says it all the time. No, this was not her debt. This was my debt. So he had $76,000 of student loan debt that could not be consolidated. And it was a lot of money every single month that went out. And do this. And I was like, this is horrible. We're both educators. So we don't make a lot of money. We made $56,000 combined in Maryland, which is a very expensive space or place to live. And so that was kind of like our first like inkling of all of that. And then we started learning like, oh, wait, I don't really know how to talk about money with you. Like I've never learned, no one's ever taught me, even though my parents are good with money. They never fought necessarily in front of me about money, but I just knew we just never talked about it. So I don't know where to start. So we started figuring it out. We started talking about how we didn't know how to talk about money and we started talking about it. That's really much how it went. Long story short, 28 months later, we paid off $76,000 worth of debt and we were completely debt free and recognized how the world is open to us, that we can literally build whatever life we want. And it was around this time that we recognized other couples and other people, and we would say, oh yeah, we're debt free, thinking that everybody else was already debt free. Like, think about that worldview for a second, that we thought that we were behind. We thought, oh, we have to catch up. We need to make sure that, majority of the people have to be debt free, right? So we're now there. So yay, we did it. And everyone else is like, no, this is not normal. What you did was very abnormal. You're actually very weird. Why did you do that? And I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, how did you do that? And so then we started learning, like, we're kind of weird. We're an anomaly. And why aren't people having conversations like this? Because look at what it did for us and how it's brought us together and how we've been able to do win after win after win after win because of the work we did together. Why are you not talking about it? And so that's kind of what created this like aha moment that we needed to talk more about it. So obviously this is like 8 years in the making. That was like 8-9 years ago, but it's now come to fruition where we're like, no, we're ready to unleash our story and unleash the idea that like, yes, you and your spouse need to have conversations around money, like now.
Yeah. And what I think is interesting is, and I'm betting that y'all found this out, is that you probably both had different money beliefs and money stories. And you had to figure out, because they were different, you had to figure out how to talk to each other, right? In order to be able to have these conversations. And I talk about this a lot. You know, I tell my audience all the time, and I tell my clients all the time, in order for you to change your relationship with money, you have to figure out where your money beliefs are coming from in order to change it. You have to get to the root of it. You can't just put a Band-Aid over it. And I also stress, excuse me, I also stress, sorry, I also stress a lot that there's good debt and there's bad debt. We need to know the difference, because if we leverage it correctly, it can put us, you know, further along. It can put us further along in our business. It can put us further along in our personal life. And there's also bad debt. And when you have a debt like you're talking about that was weighing you down and you felt like you were getting nowhere, that wasn't necessarily bad debt, because it was investing in your education. And I know so many of my clients, and I'm sure you do, and anyone, hell, I'm going to be honest, me, I have $80,000 in student loan debt. Look, I'm 50. I have come to the conclusion that I've paid off 4 of the loans. Okay. So absolutely, I'm going to give myself credit where credit is due. It was a lot more. And I know that as long as I have a plan, I can keep chipping away at it. And that's the thing. And my plan may look different than what yours and your husband's did, and someone else's may look differently. But what I love about it is that y'all work with the couple so that they can learn how to communicate about money. Because y'all, if you don't know, statistic wise, one of the things that tears a marriage apart, not just communication, but communication about money. And I'm not talking about whether you've got it or you don't. I'm talking about sitting down and talking about it and working together on it. Because when you're fighting each other,
and when there's different beliefs, as you mentioned, and you know, like going back to like what you said about debt before I go into the communication between couples, is that was the only debt we had. I didn't have credit card debt. He didn't have credit card debt. We had a little bit of savings. We literally had nothing else like that was dragging us down, like nothing. So to another couple that comes to me, or a client that comes to me who has like a situation of yours where they have maybe other debts that are more pressing on them, you know, car loans or credit cards and stuff like that, like absolutely it makes sense to focus on those first. And, you know, the student loans are probably typically not high interest, so it's fine, you know. But for our story, that was the only thing standing in our way. And so it made sense for us to be like, well, then let's just get rid of it. So then we're done and we don't have to look at it anymore. And I think what you said is absolutely perfect. Every single story, every single person's like money story is different. And going back to those like beliefs of getting like you and your spouse sitting together and having these conversations, it takes some serious personal reflection. I think that's important for you to have those personal reflection first before you even come together. Because if you both, we talked about this in our group the other day about values, about core values. If you've never taken the time to figure out what your core value is around money and what you truly want from your money, and simply saying, I just want more of it, is not a core value, right? Because more of it, and you and I talked about this too, just because you make money, like oh my gosh, I meet people who are making $230,000 combined. I meet people and still broke,
and they're
have
still
a poor
broke.
money mindset, still feeling like, oh my gosh, there's not enough to go around, still feeling like all of these different things. So don't twist it and think, oh, well, I just need to make more money and then it'll be easier. It won't.
once I'm making 400,000 or 500,000, or if I'm in the 50s, once I'm making 100,000, I won't have this issue with money.
Absolutely.
I'm going to call bullshit.
It's not
just going to say it.
And so when you start from where you are right now and
Exactly.
understand what are my core values and is my money plan, I know we were talking about money plan over budget or whatever the words you want to use, what is my plan to make sure that those core values are aligned in my financial spending, are aligned in my financial plan? And that's when you're going to feel fulfilled no matter how much money you're bringing in. And so when you both have had that in-depth understanding of what's important to you, when you come together, you're able to find those aligned values that are the same. And then you go together after these goals. Because if you don't have that goal in mind, you're having a budget conversation is for what reason? Why do I need to sit with you? Why do we need to have this conversation until there's an issue?
Right.
And all of a sudden, it's not a conversation. It's a blow up. It's tension.
Yep.
And you get nowhere.
Yep. And you get nowhere. And here's the other thing too, is I tell people all the time, when you go to do that deep dive into what your core values are with money, what are your money beliefs? Now you've got to understand what your money beliefs are. And there's no judgment ever. I tell people all the time, there are no judgments to your money beliefs. They are what they are. They came from situations, money trauma, money stories that were taught, ancestral, carried over. You guaranteed you learned them a lot younger than what you may think. And you need to be able to do that work. And if you're not honest with anybody else about it, you need to be honest with yourself of what those those money beliefs are, where you're at, so that you can flip that script. Because then when you flip that script and he's done the work, flip the script, then y'all come to, and you know what your core values are, then you can have a conversation.
Right. Because you both have a roadmap. We talked about that too. We both have a roadmap.
Oh, it could be a financial plan. It could be a money. I call them money roadmaps, because a lot of people go, budgets are just for the poor. Okay, no, not so. Yes, it helps people who are really, really tight. Okay. And I'm going to here to tell you, I love my money roadmap. I love my budget, which is, I call my money management plan, my money roadmap. You can call it financial plan. I don't care what the hell you call it. I love mine because it encompasses everything, my core values, the things I want, the things I need, the expenses. And that's my business and my personal. I have both. And when I look at it, and yes, it has to be tweaked. Oof. That's another thing we talked about. Just because you create one does not mean you can set it and go. You have to be able to tweak it because, as me and Kimberly discussed,
right. And
happens.
We just had a conversation about things that, this past month, for example, right? My husband and I had a condo. We have 2 kids, 3 and 6. But when we bought the condo, it was just me and him. But we knew it would be a really great starter space, and our whole goal was to pay it off as much as possible and rent it out. Well, things changed and our values changed and the way that we viewed our future changed. And we were like, he started getting really excited about being in business with me and being like, I want to help couples and let's do this together. And he's writing a book. And I mean, over the course of last year, things changed. So we decided in December to sell the house because we were like, nope, this isn't going to be something that we need to do right now. Maybe later. So I was like, okay, let's do that. Let's sell the house and let's rent something for a year and really go all in on our business and then decide what we want to do with this very hefty amount of money that we now have because we sold the house, and put it towards a down payment wherever we decide to live. I don't know where we're going to live, but that's not the point. But the point is that life changed. And then the moment of January of finding a rental, getting first and last months or whatever security deposit, getting, moving supplies, getting all those things, our budget changed 10 times in January. And you know what? You just roll with the punches. You're just like, okay, this is not something that happens all the time, but I need to constantly stay in touch with where my money is going so that we know how we're going to end the month strong. That I love my money and I want to make sure I give it a name. It literally feels like a blanket. Like that's like the visualization that I have about having like a money plan that truly is aligned to your goals. It feels like a warm, fuzzy blanket. Like that because you can go to sleep at night and know bills are paid.
Yes.
We're fine. We're good. I can go to sleep without worrying. Like truly.
And for those people out there that may be not being able to pay all the bills all the time, I want to stress that that's okay. Show gratitude for what you're able to do and use that warm, fuzzy blanket for what you were able to pay, because I'm sure Kimberly's been there, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. I've been there. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to have to choose what bill I'm going to pay and what bill I'm not going to pay, which one I'm going to have to carry over to next month and pay 2 months of. I know what it's like figuring out, okay, if I'm going to be able to put groceries on the table and pay the bill, or if I'm going to have to let one forsake. I was on food stamps, point blank. I know what it feels like. And so I want to stress that even if you're not to the point to where you can pay all the expenses, right? If you're to the point where you're paying some of them, give yourself credit and use that warm, fuzzy blanket to make yourself feel good and have that gratitude, because I believe what we focus on, we create more of. So if we're focusing on the negative part of not being able to pay this, that's what's going to come. If we're focusing on the positive part, that's what we're going to welcome in. And I just think it's really important that we stress that. Kimberly, I want to know what are some insights that you would give a couple who are looking at it going, okay, we kind of battle. What's the first step we would need to
core
do?
Values.
Well, we already said the first step. That's like really figure out where your money beliefs are and start to shift that and your core values. But what would be the next step?
My husband and I have something called a safe place. And this is the reason why it's like people laugh when we tell them exactly what they do, because they expect that we're going to say, all right, now look at all of your money and you're going to get all of your bills together and you're going to make a budget like right next. No, I'm not going to ask you to do that next. You know why? Because if I ask you to do that, you're going to go back in the same situation. You're going to start bickering at each other. You're going to start pointing fingers at each other. There's going to be a lot of like, well, you bought this and that's the reason why we're in this situation. There's going to be a lot of sass. And we're all about sass, but not in this way. I'm all about sass, like we like sass, but we want to put sass in the right spaces where it needs to be, right? That's not one of them, because you don't feel safe with each other. You might have shared your core values with each other, and that's nice. And you both are like, all right, yeah, this is what I would like. But there are underlying beliefs and truths that you have ingrained because of the last however many years that you've been together, that you're like, every single time we talk about this, it's going to end up in a fight. So I'm scared. I'm coming up with like I'm ready to fight, you know? So like I tell my clients to start with a safe place conversation. So we have this thing that we joke about, or you know how like before you go to bed and you're at a sleepover and everyone's getting like all cozy in their sleeping bags, it gets dark. And all of a sudden that's when real talk happens. That's the same thing that happens when you're married. It doesn't change. Like the lights go out and all of a sudden you're like, so I have this existential question right before you go to bed, right? And it's just like everything's calm. So we have these things called 2 questions before bed. And it's just starting to help couples create that safe place of having conversations. And they're light questions, but they get deeper. And it's like one of those things where it's like, man, can you just dream with me for a second? What would it look like if, like, is there a money win that you've done, that you've achieved in the last week that we can celebrate together? Right? Like, I really want to celebrate that. You know, we went to the gas station and we were able to fill up our gas tanks all the way. And I didn't think about it twice. That was really cool. I would love to do more of that. Would you like to do more of that? Yeah, me too. It doesn't have to be like this huge, like, exponential after every time that you have this conversation that you're like, now we're going to be millionaires. Like, it doesn't start there. It starts with those little conversations. Yes.
But celebrating the small wins.
And so you have to create this
celebrating the small wins.
Balance of like, I'm celebrating with you, you're celebrating with me. And so we have a list of questions that you can ask before bed. And we just say, ask yourself 2 questions in this quiet space. And don't let it take longer than 15 minutes. Don't let it be something that like lingers on forever. And even if it's a good conversation, you want to kind of like build that anticipation that I can't wait for the next time we talk about our money and the next time we dream about our money. And because that 15-minute timer went off and we were having a really great conversation. So then when we start the next step of like, okay, now let's start bringing in the numbers. Let's look at actually where you are right now. There's less of the I'm ready to fight and more of, no, this person has the same values. Like we've found a lot of commonality and I realized that we can do this and we both want the same things. So when we're looking at this, let's show kindness. Yes, first.
So you build the communication. So you build the communication of the money first, using small. That's so smart. Using like simple,
exactly,
non-evasive questions. And also
exactly. And for some people, especially for the clients who, there's in a couple, there's always that one couple that's like, I've been doing the budget for the last however many years. And the other couple, or the other part of the couple is like, I haven't been looking at it at all. Right. So the person who's been doing the budget is like frustrated by this. And so they're the one that I have to coach.
Because the person they're trying to get to look at, the person they're trying to get to look at it
when they're
won't
in
look
this
at
process, right? The person who's been budgeting the whole time is like, this is going too slow. But the person who's never looked at the budget is like, this is so enlightening to me. Like, I'm actually having fun talking about money with my spouse. And I have to tell them, like, you have to slow down just a little bit, let them catch up, and then we can go. But we can't get there if you try to pull them over to like the finish line. Like, no, you coming over here. I've already done this work for the last 20 years. You know what I mean? Like, it's a process. But when they go through it and they're actually like, wow, like, we're actually talking about this and we're not bickering at each other. This is actually awesome. Like it's a really cool transformation to see.
See, I love the fact that you do that because the whole point of Cash and Sass podcast is to have candid money conversations.
Yeah.
And you're helping couples do that. And it doesn't matter where they're at in their money journey. And we've talked about this. We both have seen people making several hundreds, thousands of dollars. And because of that scarcity money mindset or their money belief, they're still broke. They still can't tell. I don't know about you, but I know they can't tell me where the hell their money went.
Where is it?
Oh yeah, I got money. Okay, well, they can't tell me. They can't tell me anything. They'll have money in their account, but they're so afraid to spend it because they know they have this and they know this had this, but it's all in one account and they don't think they can touch it because they think they're still broke. And I think it's really important. I just think it's really important the work you're doing. I've told you this before. I absolutely love it. And, what's different about us is I don't work with couples. Okay. I work with women entrepreneurs who are, she and I both, we say high achieving. I work with women entrepreneurs who are high achieving, who are ready to change their relationship with money so that they can create, retain, and expand wealth. And what Kimberly does and her husband does is they work with couples. They can be entrepreneurs or not,
and
that are ready to do the same
readiness.
thing. Because you start where they're at. That's the beauty of it. We both say that. We start where you're at. We can't pull you over here if you're over here. So if you're over here, we're going to start here and gradually get you to here, then go further.
Thank you.
And I think that's really, really important. What are some of the, I don't know, some of the money beliefs that y'all have had or that you've seen that have had to be turned around? Oh my goodness,
there's so many of those. The idea, there's so many of them.
Give me a couple.
I'm working with a couple right now that's coming to mind, and when we're working with them, it's been a lot of this. So one part of the couple, the spouse, I should say, the spouse will think we're good with money. I don't really need to know all the bills. As long as they're automatic, it's fine. And the bills are what they are and there's no changing them. Whereas the other person is like, but what if we do, but I would like to get out of this space. Like they're currently living in they're making almost $300,000 a year, but yet they're still living in they're basically living in their parents' basement, and it's a nice house, but they have older children. And I'm like, don't you want to move out? And so the other spouse is like, I don't want to live here anymore. I would like to move on. I would like to, we have the nice cars and we go into the city, but like, what? We have nothing to show for it, right? So for her, it's a lot of like, her values are, I want the house. I want to invest more. I want to work less. I want my money to actually look like it's doing something. And for the other one, it's just like, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. Like it is what it is. And come to find out, it had to do with their backgrounds. She has family in overseas in different countries. She has no family in the States. So for her, it's legacy. Legacy is important to her. Building something that is going to last, that if her family needs something overseas, that she can take care of that. If, if she needs to, to quit her job, or if she needs to whatever, that she has the ability to do that. For him, he has family in the States. And he also comes from a different belief where, it's very laid back and chill. It is what it is. And so bringing those two beliefs together and helping them understand the strengths in those beliefs, but also this is a chance where you have to like lean into your wife a little bit more. And this opportunity in this particular situation, we're going to lean on his thinking a little bit more. It's been really cool to see both of those energies understand how to balance each other out. And yeah.
Yeah. And be able to do what I say. Mm-hmm. Why can't you save and enjoy life now? I had a client who said, I was always told that, the money doesn't go with you.
That's
so
my
you
mom.
need to just enjoy life. And she goes, and then I was also told that I need to save. Okay, well, which is it? I can't do both. And I looked at her and I went, why not? And she just looked at me. She went, huh? I said, why can't you save for later and enjoy life now? If you have a strategic plan, let me rephrase that, a realistic strategic plan, because you have to be realistic of where you're at. You can do both. There's no reason why you can't do both. And I think that's really important, because that's almost what I was seeing, is one going, well, it is what it is. So we can either spend and we're just going to live the bills and we can spend, or we're just not going to be able to go and do this. And I want to be able to enjoy life. And she's like, well, I want to go and get a house and save. Okay, there's a way you can do both. Yep. You just have to be strategic with it. And then I love that.
Some of my other clients are they have this perspective of as soon as I get money, I know that my previous perspective or my previous experience with money is that when I get money, I lose it. So when I get a raise, I'm just going to beat myself to the punch. I'm just going to move it and repel it as fast as I can. And they might not do it like in the way of, oh, I get 10,000 I'm spending $10,000. It might not happen that fast, but that is like, it's subconsciously, that's what happens. They're like, oh, I got money in, might as well spend it. Might as well do it. Yep. Might as well. YOLO. Like, I don't know. They just like go for it. And then when they actually sit down and they recognize it, they're like, oh my gosh, I have every single time that I've gotten additional income, I immediately like just let it go, because I don't trust myself with my money. I'm afraid that I can't hold on to it. I'm afraid that I can't spend it save it because somebody else told me that I'm horrible at saving. Somebody else told me that I'm only good at wasting money. So why would I even try to pretend to be someone that I'm not? And it's insane how those words and how another person's perspective, especially our spouse, can weigh on us, where we go, well, if that's what it is, then I'm just never going to be a person who has savings or investments. I'm just going to be a person who has a lot of stuff.
Well, and not only that, but if you also come from a background of family who did that, right? Or somehow in the family, like I was raised with, you work, you pay bills, wash, rinse, repeat. You work, you pay bills, wash, rinse, repeat. You don't save and you don't get anything. And I believed that. So every time extra money started showing up, I can't save it. it's something that's going to happen. It's going to disappear tomorrow. And subconsciously, I was literally making it disappear. And I look back now and I'm like, oh my gosh. And it was from those stories that were being not even said, but shown, right? And I had to flip that script. I had to change that thought process to realize, you know what? It doesn't have to be that way. I can do both. I can have things and save for later. I wish I would have learned it a lot younger. Or it would have come into the brain a lot longer. And I'm glad it came when it came, because I'm going to be honest, I'm 50. I have the highest credit score I have ever had in my life. I have the nicest vehicle I have ever had in my life. One that I don't have to, if it breaks down, is covered under warranty. And I don't have to figure out where the hell the money's coming from, okay? If you've bought vehicles that paid cash for them and not had any warranties, you understand where I'm coming from. And you know, I have nice things, and I have an awesome business, and I have a different totally mindset with money. I have a good relationship now with money, and I'm here to tell you that is the biggest key, is being able to have a good relationship with money. And full transparency, even when things are tight, even when you're up leveling and life happens in the middle of your up leveling, or you're in a Phoenix rising moment. You and I talked about this because, hello, I'm in that Phoenix rising moment. Still being able to have your tools and lean in and have that good relationship with money is what gets you through those moments, and being able to tweak the financial plan, the money roadmap, whatever it is you want to call it, and being able to still be centered and grounded in that good relationship with money is what gets you through those. Is it still tight? Yes. Is it still sometimes mini stressful? Okay, absolutely. Yes. I am not going to sugarcoat it for you. And it's a whole lot better than what it would be if you didn't have a good relationship with money. And if you're married, a whole lot better than it would be if you weren't having communication.
Because we've had many situations like that, especially as a business owner, right? My husband, I have kids. Yes, it's life.
You have kids and you're married. It's life. It's called life.
He's working. We're hopeful that he can stop working soon. We'll see how things go. But I got into business 5 years ago when my daughter was 1. So she's almost 7. So 6 years ago. Goodness gracious, time goes by so fast. But yeah, so we had to have that conversation, right? Again, as 2 educators, I was making a little bit more at that point. We were both in public education at that point, not private. So we had a little bit of a bump up in money. But we were wanting to get our master's, which costs money. And so we were like, all right, well, we got to put a little bit of extra in so that we can get this master's. And then it was, okay, well, we have our daughter and she needs to go to daycare because our master's classes don't end until 8:00 at night. So there was some days where, it was tight, because an infant going to, daycare is a mortgage. It's another mortgage.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a mortgage payment. It is a mortgage.
So there
payment.
are moments where it's tight.
Yes.
Oh no, goodness gracious!
I don't miss those.
When we have nope, I don't want to do daycare again if I don't have to. But yeah, there are moments. Even the people who are doing really great with their money, right? Who know how to manage it, who have good relationships with their money. I'm so thankful that my husband and I have learned the communication part of things, because as I was going into business and I said, okay, I'm going off, I'm not going to have a consistent income anymore. Are you okay with that? We had to have a conversation about okay, what's that going to look like? And here's a business one that I think will help some of your listeners who might be female entrepreneurs. Having that conversation and knowing that, his bills or his income could take care of majority of our bills, on the minimum end. And if I brought in $400 a month, we were good. If I brought in $1,200 a month, we could take care of our sinking funds, right? But our emergency fund is intact. And, So we have all of these, or rainy day fund, as you say, is intact and all of these things, right? So imagine the stress that I didn't feel being able to look at my business and not feel pressure that I have to have and this is what you hear in this industry, 5K months, 10K months. We push that too much.
Yeah, see, I didn't do that. I didn't do that. Mine was a little bit different. Mine was I'm sole provider with me and my 2 girls, and I was let go from my job in 2016, and I was tired of the migraines, I was tired of the tension headaches, I was tired of all the stuff, and I said, you know what? And I was barely making ends meet. The highest I made was like $40,000 for me and 2 girls, and I couldn't. Insurance alone was way too expensive. So the girls was on Medicaid because they couldn't be on my insurance, because they were on my insurance. It took pretty much my check. And, I was barely making ends meet. So I decided, you know what, if I'm barely making ends meet, we're going to do it on my terms. I'm going to be at home. It wasn't, oh, I need to go make that 5K. It was, I either make this work, or I'm going to have to go back to corporate. And I made hard decisions. I had my vehicle repossessed. I was on food stamps already. And I had to send a letter to my landlord and say, will you prorate my rent from October to April when I get my taxes? Because I knew I was going to get a huge refund because, again, I was sole provider of 2 kids and was not making enough money. And you'd be amazed at what happens when you do that. You get this massive, tax rebate thing. So I knew I would get enough. And against advice of 2 people, she said yes. And right. And it was God, source, universe, whatever you believe in. That was what was involved. Okay. To this day, I know that. And now I'm celebrating 7 years, making more money than I have ever made. Okay. Working corporate, 20 years in corporate, ever. And it wasn't, I got to do 5K. I got to do 10K. It was just keep building. First time I made $1,000, I celebrated. Then when I each milestone, and the biggest thing is that first year, that was when I realized at the end of the first year when the business grew so much and then it stopped and it almost lost, I was like, okay, wait a minute. What do I have to show for this? Why am I still having issues? Right? Because the money was coming in, but I was still having issues. And it was when I dug into what we've talked about, those money stories, those money beliefs. And I went, aha, we're missing a piece. Yeah. You can't do this without this. And then why is those like you and I talked about, we could create spreadsheets and sell them on Etsy. Yep. Why don't we? Because they're cookie cutter spreadsheets and they don't work. They don't work because they're not built for you. But I love that we have these different stories, different money journeys. And we talk, like you said yesterday, the other day, we talk about the same things. We might teach them slightly different. But we have, you and I have a lot of the same core values. We may have some that are slightly different, but we also have a lot of the same core values, which, like I said, y'all should have seen me. I lit up when she got as excited about, and she got just as excited about Capital One savings that I did. And not many people do. She's like, oh, I love Capital. I was like,
I'm a unicorn.
I found like my sisterhood or something. Okay. I know.
Yes,
it was like
it's unicorn.
My God. It was awesome. As we wrap up, I want you to tell people about your freebie that your free offer that you're offering for the listeners, because I was reading it and I think this is like a big, I don't know. I just think it's important because it tells you your communication style. Am I
Actually,
understanding
it's so funny because I was like, well, I wrote that out a while ago. I hope I wrote what she's talking about. Yes, that's exactly what it is. So we've actually created a money archetype quiz. So you know how those quizzes in Cosmo where you find out like the type of like that's exactly what it is, right? So way back in the day when you're like, okay, are you a spring or are you an autumn? Are you a summer? And this is what it means about you.
Yeah.
But we made one of those for, obviously it's a lot more not as like, Cosmo, but we made it for money, right? So like based on how you answer some of these questions about your values, they're really helping you understand what your core values are. And you're going to choose the things that are the most like that stand out to you the most, that stand out to you as the most important to you right now. And there are 4 archetypes that we're sharing. And there's so many of them. And these are just the ones that we focus on. And you can totally ebb and flow depending on what's happening in your life. You can ebb and flow between them. But there's going to be one archetype that is like your main, like that is your main archetype, your main communication style. And when you understand your communication style, you're going to be able to see your finances from a different light. It doesn't mean just because you like spending money that you are a bad person, that you are bad with money. That's not what that means at all, right? In fact, as a person who loves to spend money, I am a resident bougie person. That is me. Give me all the vacations, give me all the pretty things. That is me. I am the one that loves to shop.
Yes. See?
Yes.
Yes.
Pretty things. And I also love managing my money. Like, love it. Because the more that I manage my money and the more that I tell it where to go, the more money I have to shop without guilt, without feeling. It's just the best thing.
Knowledge
and I don't
is
have
power.
to worry about my husband rolling his eyes at me when I come home with bags from Target. He's like, "Oh, you went shopping? Show me what you got." It's the best, I'm telling you. So anyway, understanding your money archetype is going to be really beneficial. And we actually have a master class that goes with it that helps us. We are able to personally coach you to help you go deeper in how does that work with your spouse and how do you leverage your strengths. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, listeners, if you are a couple, I want you to please go and grab this free offer. The link will be in the show notes for you to grab, as well as her website and the links to go check her out. Thank you, Kimberly, so much for coming on here. I'm going to tell you, you and I could have like mini conversations. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to have you back because we could just do like a lowdown on women and money. I know, because you and I I think we could have had our conversation even longer at the coffee chat. Yeah, I absolutely thank you very much for coming on. Thank you, my sassy friend, for listening or watching us on YouTube. And until next time, we will see you then. Bye. Thanks for joining us this week on Cash and Sass. Check us out on social media and on our website at www.thesassywealthcoach.com, where you can download my free Money Story Start Guide. The website again is www.thesassywealthcoach.com. And as always, subscribe to the show to catch every new episode and leave us a review so we can continue to bring you fresh content.